Obnoxious!
Once upon a time, there was a boy. He was pretty ordinary, nothing too special. Except for one thing. He liked cars. He also liked cartoon movies about talking inanimate objects, going on adventures. One day, he had the ingenious idea to combine these two loves by writing a movie script about talking cars. It was a swell script. All his friends said so, and thus he was named the guy who wrote a script about talking cars guy. Sure, it was a pretty lame name, but it was his. But then, a horrible decade known as the 2000s came, and in the 6th year of that decade, something happened that ruined this boy's life forever. Disney-owned animation studio Pixar, usually known for making good movies, made a movie that was strikingly familiar to the script the boy wrote over 20 years prior. That movie was called Cars, and it was a huge hit. And that little boy from earlier? Well, for many years after that, he could no longer admit that he wrote an 80-page script about talking cars discovering their sexuality. If he did, he would hear the cringe-inducing response, "Doho, you sound like that Cars movie, yo!" What made that little boy special, was no longer very special at all. But hey, it's not like I have an obvious bias or anything. The first Cars movie was one of the biggest pieces of shit I've ever seen in my life. And yes, that's including everything Michael Bay has ever done. One of Pixar's laziest efforts. And so obviously, it was a big hit, making over $400 million at the box office. Coincidentally, it opened the same day as the late Robert Altman's penultimate film, A Prairie Home Companion, one of the best films of the last 30 years. And what did that make at the box office? $25 million. Box office dud. Just when you think the human race can't get any more fucking worthless. Well done, planet Earth. So yeah, Cars 2 begins by taking Lightning McQueen and Mater to Europe and Japan to compete in the World Grand Prix, but there's this really disturbing undercurrent of xenophobia when they finally get to Japan. For example, there's this really disturbing scene where Mater watches TV, and there's absolutely no anime with panty-sniffing robots. Just pitiful. And where's the Super Mario references? No mention of the nation's most important cultural icon? Yeesh. Come on, I'm not the only one who wants to see what Super Mario Kart would look like in the Cars universe. Later on in England, they run into Finn McMissile, voiced by Michael Caine. And then the film sort of turns into this James Bond motif. Heh, real original, guys. That being said, this is where the film goes from terrible to maybe almost decent. I mean, who doesn't love James Bond? Always having sex and killing women? What a pro. And the Bond girls? Just awesome. What strong role models for women empowerment. Unlike these shrill women today who think it's sexist and exploitive to show a little cleavage once in a while. Now you can't mention Bond girls without hearing, "Nah, bro, the Bond girls are totally sexist. They're not exploring the sexuality. They're only using it as a weapon serving as their only means of social power. That's super misguided and exploitive, brah." Yeesh. Let's just say if I was a Bond villain, I'll totally stick that laser up their crotch. Larry the Cable Guy reprises his role as Mater, and in my humble opinion,
Larry the Cable Guy isn't funny.
He's supposed to have this relationship with this other girl car, but you really don't believe it because there's no shred of visceral or emotional reality. Like in Letters to Juliet, you want to have sex with Amanda Seyfried, but you can't because she won't respond to any of her emails or accept any of the lovely gift packages you leave at her doorstep every night.
Amanda! Why won't you love me?
And that's why Chloe's an exceptionally better film. I guess what I'm trying to say is, Cars 2 would be a lot better if it had some sex in it. Or at least some boobies. That would definitely make it worth shelling out the extra $250 for the 3D. Man, just imagine Mater's big, pink, beautiful nipples bouncing around in 3D. I'm sorry. So, yeah. Cars 2, huh? So yeah, Cars 2, probably Pixar's worst film by a long shot. Oh well. And now, here comes July. Oh boy. I can't wait. See you next time.